Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. I'm Erin Eno, and today I really felt like painting something kind of soft and relaxing. So we're going to be painting this pink lavender field. It's really simple, very beginner friendly, and fairly quick to do, so I hope you enjoy it. If you do and you want to see more videos like it, don't forget to subscribe and also hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos out. Now let's start painting. Before we jump in and get painting, I'll just run through my materials for you. Today I'm using my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper. It's 140 pound, 100% cotton. I've trimmed it down to roughly 5 by 7.5, and I've taped it all around to a board. We're going to be using a lot of water, so to avoid it warping and buckling on you, definitely tape it down to a board or something. I have my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints in my palette, a jar of water, paper towel. I will also be using my heat tool today to speed things up a bit. And for brushes, I have grabbed a Princeton Neptune in a size 4 round and a Princeton Snap in a size 0. And I also have a Curry's 2400 series in a size 6 round. So to start, I'm going to use my Princeton Neptune in a size 4, and I'm going to spritz down my paper. I want it wet, but I don't want it pooling. And I'm just spritzing it down because it's easier to just wet the whole paper. Because this is such a small painting, I'm not using big brushes, so I just want to speed things up to wet the background and just tip it around to make sure that you've got the whole surface wet. This paper is quite thirsty. I can't speak today. This paper is quite thirsty, so I'm going to spritz it down again. I should maybe grab a bigger brush, but okay, while that's soaking in a little bit, I'm going to mix my colors. And I've just got a scrap piece of paper here that I'm going to test them on. So I want to do like a pinkish lavender, not the typical purple. Okay, so I'm starting out with rose, which is a really nice pink. And I'm going to add just a little bit of quinacridone purple red. Just a little bit. This color goes a long way, so I'm actually just going to get some of it off my brush there. And then for green, I'm going to use a mixture of sap green. If you saw my last video, you saw me use this green as well, where I just mix sap green and a little bit of olive green just to make it a little less primary-ish looking. Okay, just make it a little yellower. So that should do for that. Now, I'm just going to test these. I think that's good. That's good. That's what I want. So those are our colors. And I'm going to start by just taking a wet brush and a light wash of this pink. And I'm just going to start tapping in some pink in the background. Okay, and I'm just scattering this around where I would think that there would be some lavender sprigs, and this will dry lighter. Okay, now I'm also going to take a wash of the green. Now I haven't tried this painting yet, so this is my first kick at the can for this, so I'm hoping it turns out. I just wanted to kind of paint and relax a little bit, and I thought this is a nice subject matter is peaceful. Now keep in mind when you do this, not to kind of mix your green with your pink, okay? Because if you do, pink and green are basically opposite on the color wheel, like green and red, and it will create a muddy color. Now my paper's drying already. I don't know why it's drying so quickly, so I'm just going to spritz it again. Because this is just a misty background, you can spritz it and it's not going to create any problems. I don't think I want that little hair in there though, so we'll get rid of that. And I'm just going to go and continue tapping in some green. That might have been a little strong. You can bring some of it up. And I'm not trying to fill the whole background. Okay, I'm going to go back to my pink now. Another wash of that. I'm tapping my brush on my paper towel so it's not like completely saturated with pigment. And I'm going to tap some into the green here. Then I'm going to go into this pink again, and I'm not going to water it down as much. And I'm just going to tap in some of these, just to add a little more darkness to the ones in the back, and they should fade out. I hope I'm not overdoing it. We'll find out in the end. Maybe put a little more here. Now I can't speak. This will continue to bleed out, okay? So you don't need to, don't go in and try to like push it around and manipulate it too much. Just let it do what it's doing. I think I'm going to add a little more pink to the background. Light wash. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to just get kind of like a roundish kind of ball shape on the end of it, if I can. It's not very round, but, and I'm just going to tap up just to see if we can get some sort of like bokeh effect. And I don't think it's going to work because there's not enough pigment in the background. When we go with our darker pigment, maybe I'll try a little more. If not, we kibosh the bokeh effect. So I'm going to go back into the pink. Now, like I said, I hadn't practiced this first. I didn't do like a test run, so I'm literally just winging it and playing around. Just because I felt like doing that today. I'm going to go back into the green, get a little more green in there. I'm just trying to put in a little bit more background so I can try to get more of a bokeh effect. I don't think I've ever done that in any of my paintings, so I'm just risking it that it might look okay. Let's soften this edge up here. I'm going to go back in and with the paper towel and see if I can get, whoops, didn't mean to do that. See if I can get this to look more bokeh-like. I should be using something round, but I'm not. And that may all disappear in the end, who knows? Let's try one here, little one. I don't know, you guys. Anyway, maybe we'll just pass on that. So now I'm going to, it's soaked in a little bit. I'm going to, actually I just want a little bit more green. So I'm going to go in with my size 0, and you want a small brush for this. You don't want something that holds a lot of water. And I'm going to go into the green, and I'm going to do some very fine stems. And they can bleed out a little bit because it is still a little damp in spots, which is what I want. And don't do solid lines, just kind of break them as you go in. That was a little heavy. Okay, so you don't have to do like solid lines. It doesn't have to be a solid, deliberate line. We want this kind of, you know, misty and soft at this point. I'm gonna water this down a little bit more. That's probably a little heavy. So if you are heavy-handed, it's okay. Just have your paper towel nearby. And then with that same size 0 brush, I'm going to go into some of that pink. Okay, and just make some of these a little deeper. So it's still damp, still fairly damp. So it's going to bleed out still. I don't know about this one. Yep. Maybe put one here. That's not a good idea. Okay. So the trick here is to not overwork it. Okay, so I think at this point I'm going to dry it with my heat tool, and then we'll come back and throw some more in focus, sharper lavender in there. Okay, so now that this is dry, I just want to point out that this hadn't completely bled out yet, this green, and I hit it with the heat tool, so it kind of stops that bleed. Ideally, I wanted that to go in a little softer, so just keep that in mind. Just make sure your bleeds are all completely done. So I'm going to just try to, I should be using a bigger brush. I'm gonna go to my Neptune size 4 again, and I'm just gonna put some green in here. And I'm gonna rinse off my brush and just kind of soften this up. Be careful, you don't want to start creating blooms. But I just wasn't happy with that. Okay, so if that happens to you, it's no big deal, you can fix it. It's not the end of the world. So I'm just kind of tapping as I go out just to soften that edge. Don't go back in with a ton of water though, or you can start creating more issues. Okay, so I'm gonna let those just do their thing. I'm not gonna hit them with the heat tool, but while they're drying, I'm gonna go back in and do the other more foreground in focus lavender, and I'm gonna use my size 0 brush for that because I want really decent control and not too much water. And I'm just going to put some dots down, just like that. I don't want too many. I'm going to do one. Whoops, that was way too much. Way too much. I want to see if I can get like a broken lavender here that's kind of broken by that bokeh effect. Just going to soften them just a little bit with some clean water. I don't want them all blurry, I just want them kind of soft in some areas. And because this is such a small painting, that's why I'm using a small brush. Okay, again, cleaning off my brush, tapping it off on my paper towel just to soften some of these up. You can go in with some heavier pigment just to make some of them really kind of deep and crisp. Like that, but don't overdo it. I have to be careful not to overwork this. And I'm just going to take a light wash, very light wash, and see if I can just dab some in here where this bokeh effect was and see what that does. I don't like what happened here. This is too flat and harsh. So I'm just taking the tip of my brush, just adding in some more deliberate dots. It's just kind of blended together into mush there. I don't really like that. There we go. I'm going to wait till that dries and I'll put some more. Actually, you know what? Let's see if we can get a little bokeh effect here. So I'm just wetting it in a circular motion. And let's see if we can tap that up and have a sort of bokeh spot. No, it's not cooperating. Well, when that's not cooperating, I'm going to go to my craft brush, which is really stiff, kind of beat up bristles. And I'm just going to do a circular motion here. Now, if you're not using 100% cotton paper, you have to be careful because you can just chew your paper up if you scrub at it too much. So I didn't get the bokeh effect I was after, but it did lighten it, and I'm good with that. Now I'm going to go in with my size 0 and the green. Even though this is a size 0, I'm still tapping it off on my paper towel because I really don't want a lot of pigment here. Okay, and I'm just going to hold my brush upright. And just do fine lines. I don't want anything too harsh here. And again, you can break them up. And I don't think I want anything there. There. And I'm just going to put some in, right in the lavender flower itself, just so it doesn't look like it's floating without a stem, like nothing holding it together. I don't know, this is hit and miss with me. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm just actually want this really watered down. Where I have that little halo there, I want it really watered down. And I'm just gonna, with the very tip of my brush, just try that and just tap it a bit so it's really, really pale. I think it's kind of missing something. This is a little harsh. How harsh it's gonna be. I think it's missing something. Maybe some depth. I'm going to try to go in with a little stronger pigment and just tap in a few areas on the more focused lavenders, just to add a little bit of depth. Oh, not there. I'm just trying to think how I want to balance this out. I think I'm going to do one up here. Another one coming up this way. Okay, again, I'm doing like a broken stem. I tap my brush off on my paper towel. And go in with that heavier pigment. It's kind of separating a little bit there. I'm not big on that. Okay. Rinsing my brush off and just using the pigment that's there to finish this lavender. Maybe have that fade off a little bit. Just like that. I think I want a little bit more green in the foreground, so I'm just going to lightly put a bit of water down here. I don't want to disturb this and create bloom, so I don't want to reactivate the paint that's already down, but I just want a little bit more green and a little bit of pink just in this background. Okay, just like that. Now I'm going to go to the pink. Not too watery. And tap some more in there. It just was kind of lacking some pink in that area. There we go. And I'm not big on this. So I just want to soften. I just want to lighten the stem here. I wasn't big on it, so I'm just using my size 6 round and kind of scrubbing to reactivate that green, and just going to pick that up a bit. It was a little too in your face. So I wanted to keep this really simple, so I think I'll leave it at that, and we'll take the tape off and see what we have. So there you go. There is our finished lavender field painting. This was really simple to do and pretty quick as well. And although my bokeh effect didn't turn out, I'm pleased with the painting overall. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and that you found it helpful. And thanks again so much for joining me and supporting my channel. That's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you next time.